Hi. So yes, I'm Jackie Nunez, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I'm going to do something different. Usually you save your thank yous for the end, but I want to thank you all right now. There would be no me without you, and I'm really appreciative of this update. I learn a lot. This is my third year, and usually I'm like lying, stealing, cheating, somehow try to get here. I've been self-funded for 6 years, and so it's been great. You guys have been very generous and been able to get scholarships and discounts with. So I really appreciate it, Laura and Arthur. Thank you. The 3-day recycling class, and I always learn a lot. So it's a great format for me. So yes, so let's get to it. So first of all, this is my disclaimer. I could call this talk from slacktivism to activism, but really, before 2011, this is pretty much the extent of my activism. And, you know, people poo-poo it, but it's actually one form. I mean, it's one way to educate your friends and get causes heard and go along. But really, I was troweling around, and that was pretty much the extent. So a little background about me. My parents are Cuban immigrants, and they had 5 kids. My poor mother. And that's me holding my little sister. So if you can imagine, the youngest, my sister newborn, the youngest all the way to the to my right, Paul. He's 4. My oldest sister, she's 8. I'm 6, and my brother's 10 and a half months behind me, Irish twins, and he's 5. So she had her hands full. This was in Escondido in 1971. This gives you an idea of what it was like growing up. We were part of that 70s generation where, you know, they call it the parents you just had to be home for dinner. You know, we were pretty free range parenting, they call it. And that's me and our dog Happy. Called it Happy because she smiled. And I probably dressed myself that day. But as you can imagine, we got in trouble a lot too, and after a while, my mom just knew to come to me when things were happening and a kid was getting himself in some sort of trouble, because 9 times out of 10, I probably was the instigator for that. And little did I know that I would be able to use this later on in life. Our family traveled around a lot. I've lived a lot of different places. By the time I got to high school, I think we lived in 5 or 6 different places, and one of the places was Puerto Rico. And I still have extended family there, so I actually go back there on a yearly basis. And I spent my junior high school years here. And this was part of my formulating my idea about plastics and stuff, because I really got a good snapshot of how these beaches changed over time. So I came to California in '95, and I just kind of got the travel bug after I graduated from college with a health degree. I started traveling with Club Med and working with kids and sports outside. And then I got back to California and became a river guide, and still would work seasonally and then travel whenever I could. I'm also a kayak guide now that I'm in Santa Cruz, and I get to travel sometimes with kayak guiding. And this is me in British Virgin Islands, so we get to do some international trips. But everywhere I go, this is what I see. And so it's getting kind of a bummer to take people out into nature, and we see our impact. And really for me, going to a lot of these places, we don't do luxury travel when guiding these trips. And so, you know, you see the infrastructure, you see how they can't handle it, and the locals are serving you this stuff that they think that you need. And I really try to be a low maintenance traveler, but also bring my own everywhere I go. And this is me in Belize. This is actually the beginning. This is a little that I know it then, but this is kind of the beginning to my activism. We were out here in Glover's Atoll, and this is where I kind of got needing to do more, you know. It was an incident that happened here. So I also feel I volunteered in Santa Cruz, Save Our Shores, did a lot of beach cleanups and a little outreach and everything, and but I was still overwhelmed by the problem, and I felt like we needed to turn it off at the tap, and but I just didn't know how to do it. And then I had my last plastic straw moment. You can cue the video now. So instead of me explaining it, there's actually a movie that's been is coming out April 1st, and I'll talk a little bit more about it later, but this is a clip from that and talking about my last plastic straw moment. Let's see if it works. I was kayak guiding in Belize. We were out there diving and snorkeling, so here we are. Yeah. 45 miles out in this protected, pristine area, and a river of trash started going by us. And I got back to Santa Cruz, and I was very dejected. I had ready to become a sanctuary steward doing beach cleanups, but I was really just beside myself. Like, what can I do? It's one thing to clean it up, but we need to stop it at the source. I was at a beachside bar meeting a friend, and I ordered a glass of water. And as I was sitting there looking out at the Monterey Bay Marine Sanctuary, the glass of water came with a plastic straw in it, which I did not ask for. And that was kind of that was it. That was my last straw, my last plastic straw. I proactively ask for no straw every time I go out. That we don't need this. This is one source of plastic, a very easy, tangible thing that you can do. That's it, upon request. If that's the least a restaurant can do, that's nothing off their back, it's a win-win. And that's one less piece of plastic going into the ocean. All right. So yeah, so that was my last straw moment. So I started researching and found another kid at the same time as me in 2011. I figured it couldn't be an original thought if it came to my head about it, but Milo Kress in Vermont started Be Straw Free at the same time. And I reached out to him and got some stats, and I was really just kind of searching for something. Again, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, and being the slacktivist that I am, I just wanted to latch on to whatever was going on. But he was in Vermont, and he was doing a lot of talks and stuff in schools, and one of the things that he was really advocating was what is it? It wasn't upon request, it was asked first policy. And he did that with the Restaurant Association as a best practice. And for me, I don't even want to ask. I want it to be upon request, make them ask for it. And so I decided I would start just spreading the word wherever I could and speaking out whenever I was in groups. So I even found behavior studies. I mean, it was a hunch that I had that I really felt that this is also a gateway issue, that once people thought about straws, because I would even be at beach cleanups or people in the industry, and you go out and they're like sucking on their straws, and you're like, oh my God, didn't you see what we just cleaned up? And they just didn't connect. And then you bring it up to them, and they're like, oh my God, I never thought of the straw. And you see the natural progression. Not only the straw, then they start thinking about all the other single-use plastic that they're using. And I just thought it was a really great, tangible thing. And I'd go to these talks. I started educating myself, going to talks. 2014 was, I think, the first time I went to the update. And you guys were very generous. I had a lot of contacts from here. It was great. I could learn a lot more and just really kind of delved into it. But I really felt that this was, I go to talks and people be like, behavior change. And I'm like, this is it. This is the tipping point. So what does 500 million straws a day look like? 2.5 times around the world. And for the longest time, I talked to people about straws, and I say, harm to animals, but I didn't really have that albatross photo, right? But I knew it was microplastic, and I knew a lot of birds and stuff were ingesting it, but I just couldn't prove it. I didn't have that straw. And every once in a while, I'd go down the black hole of the internet and look for ingestion animals, and there was this Magellan penguin in 2012 that they found with the straw that perforated its stomach. And so up until then, that was all I could find, and just kind of like, yeah, it hurts animals, and tried my different talking points with people. And then this happened. And this happened in 2015, and that blew up my inbox. And everyone sent me that video. If any of you guys have seen it, for these who haven't seen it, I'm not even going to show you the video, but it's 8 excruciating minutes of them pulling this plastic straw out of a turtle's nose. And I contacted the researchers right away and asked for permission to use the images, and they were great. They're like, yes, we want it out there. We want to really get the message out how bad this is, that we really don't need this. So that really blew up my campaign. Organizations that I've been reaching out to for years all came calling. I mean, who was the geek talking about straws for the last 6 years with me, and they see the website all about straws, and so it's great. So I'm not alone, and there's Milo down there. He started at the same time, but a lot of other organizations have popped up and bands. Miami Beach was one of the first ones, but just in the beachside bars. It's still not citywide, but that was one of the first bands I heard of. And so some of my allies, actually, I should have, I didn't have you guys on here. But anyway, so the one thing, sorry, this is an old slide. So one thing I reached out. I reached out to a lot of organizations, and it's been really great, and just trying to collaborate with them. And the city of Santa Cruz and the county were great. I got them to implement Straws Upon Request as part of their green business program for restaurants. And so it's been really good. And I heard when I talked to them that nobody really does that. So quickly, truth to plastics. For 2017, I made a point to start talking truth to plastics when I talk about plastic. And this is a study that just came up a few years ago, but they talked about, they quantified how much plastic was out in the ocean. And then this is a Jenna Jembeck article. And there's some hot spots, right? There's like 10 places where when plastic comes into their environment, it goes right into the ocean. And they highlighted these 10 places. And so they wanted to talk about mitigating the waste management system there and ways that we can curtail it from going straight in. But I say let's flip that conversation, shall we? Because you can also highlight the top 10 companies that are producing a lot of this stuff. And this is where I want to go to. I want to talk about cradle design. I want to talk about producer responsibility. We have a lot of power saying no to a lot of this stuff, but we also need to hold these people accountable. And we know there's enough stuff out there. There's alternatives and ways that we can do it if we make it worth a while. And they should be responsible. So I'm a little nervous about saying this, but I don't use the words biodegradable, compostable, or disposable plastic anymore. Those are industry terms. And so it gives people false hope that plastic can be disposed of. There is no way, as you guys know, that we don't have ways to really deal with this plastic. And I'm saying it breaks apart now, not even breaking down. And why? Why is this really important? Well, it's coming up our food chain. They've just recently captured the moment a microfiber goes into plankton, and now it's bioaccumulating up. They did a study a few years ago, San Francisco fish market, randomly tested fish, and 25% of the fish had plastic in them. So yeah, marine mammals, they mistake it for food. It's actually an attractant to toxins. So that piece of plastic that's already toxic is like 10,000 times more toxic. And then recyclable, is it really? When you see a graph like this, it's like, no, it's really not. It's downcycled once and ends up in our environment. I'm even saying landfill is our environment. What it does fit is this definition, I think, in our environment. And that's another conversation we should be having as well, because there's no real dealing with this. It's a real toxic waste in our environment. And latest development, April 1st, they're doing the premiere of this movie, Straws film, and I'm in it. A lot of different other people are in it. I'm not just saying it because I'm in it, but it's actually pretty good. It's 30 minutes long. They're going to be premiering it at the Sonoma Film Festival on April 1st, and it's also going to be at Newport Beach Film Festival. But you can get online and follow at strawsfilm.com and see where it's going to be playing. And it will be available for educational and stuff later on, but they're doing film festivals right now. And there we go. And so latest development too is I got signed on with Plastic Pollution Coalition. So now I finally have a 501c3 number as of this year. And it's going global. We're working with groups from all over the world. And there's a lot of straw campaigns that popped up in the last year because of that video. And it's really exciting. It's what I always envisioned it to be. I always thought it would be a movement, and it's happening. Thank you. Questions? Anyone?
Try to see who's out there.
Oh, yes.
The green business program, is it something that people get a point for, or is it like a prerequisite requirement?
Repeat the question.
Okay, she's asking about the green business program. The one in Santa Cruz or just in general? Any green business? Yeah. So Santa Cruz, they had, I think they get a point for that. It was required, made sure it was a requirement. But there's other green business things, or even like the Ocean Guardian or the Ocean Friendly Restaurant with Surfrider. I just had a meeting with them because they have that as optional. I'm like, you guys, let's strengthen that. Let's make it required. So it just really depends on which community, but I got them to make it required.
Great.
So,
Okay. Oh,
yes?
yeah.
Yes.
Repeat
Oh, okay. If I approached any schools about removing straws, yeah, and actually schools have approached me. They've come up, and Alameda's great school district, and there's a big movement for that. I have the other aspect of this campaign, which I think is very important, is my mapping the movement page, and I really want to show that movement. And I have a new category, schools now, and organizations. I mean, West Marine, their headquarters are down in Watsonville, and they've in their corporate offices, no straws in their cafeteria. So I really want to highlight all that stuff. The behavior science behind it is that B.J. Fogg, it's a Stanford study that little habits lead to big habits, and I really believe this. Even with restaurants, when I get them to actually serve straws upon request, they realize how little straws they're giving out. But it's a natural progression. They start thinking about all the other stuff, and they just start replacing stuff on their own without my prompting. And the same thing with individuals. So it's really a powerful tool. But the other study is they did a study where they had like behavior science where they took a group, when you go to a hotel and they ask you to not, wash your towels or whatever. Well, they took one group, told all the benefits to the environment. The other group, they told them that 85% of people are doing it already. Which group do you think complied? Yeah, and that's what I'm finding too with the restaurants. If they find out other people are doing it, then they're on it. So that mapping the movement page is really crucial to me in this next phase of my campaign. But it's really interesting working with nonprofits. Like nobody wants to share. And I'm like, come on, just share. I'll credit you. I'll just put it. I just want to show everyone that's switching over. So, yeah. So the schools is great. One more. Yeah, the bane of my. What about drink boxes? Bane of my existence. Well, part of it, yeah, paper straw. Well, the part of it too is that puncturing of the whole manufacturer. I mean, the whole drink box, as you know. I mean, it doesn't even. It's so many different materials, and it's just a bad thing all around. And I mean, and the one great thing about schools, a lot of the kids are taking on initiative, and they're banning it from their own schools. When they research and find what they're made out of and how bad they are, they just don't have it. And plus, high fructose corn syrup or whatever. When they get the parents involved and nutritionists, then they usually get it out. But that's majority. When they do audits, it's those little wrappers from those juice boxes and those little straws. So I'm telling you, I mean, I have faith when I talk to kids. I love talking to kids. And I tell kids, like, this is a design flaw that we're using plastic for single use, and you can redesign your future. And they get really pumped, and it makes sense to them. Adults, it's like, shoot me now, like, oh, you're going to take my, I was like, I'm not going to explain this to you, kids get it, so.
Okay, we need to wrap up.
Yeah.
But, so you can come and visit with Jackie at the break.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.